Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back. Today I want to talk about how to get your ex back after years apart. It's actually not as difficult as you may think. But before I do that, I want to remind you to hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any of my future videos. And while you're at it, hit the little bell next to it also to get notifications. So a lot of times in relationships, it's bad timing that leads to a breakup. Someone is not over their ex, or maybe you're both too young or too immature, or even just one of you is immature, or one of you is going through a difficult time either personally or professionally, and so you are not a good partner, you take your partner for granted, or maybe someone is on some medication. They've had an injury or they need medication for something, and that changes their personality. So a lot of times it's not that you don't get along, but something happened or it's bad timing and there's a breakup. So I want to tell you a little story. And I've actually told half of this story before in another video. I don't remember which one, so don't ask. But I now have the ending to the story. Basically, this guy, he was dating this girl, and he's probably about 12 to 14 years older than her. I don't remember. And they dated for about 4 years, and then they started having problems, and he saw that she was texting some other guy. And, he got mad at her, and then he went to no contact, then she contacted him, and there was all this back and forth for a few months. And then finally, she sent a text saying, it's over, forget it, move on. He contacts me in a panic. What do I do? What do I do? I said, don't worry. I said, just respond, okay. And he said, that's it? And I said, that's it. It's that easy. It's really easy. Just say, okay. And his attitude was, well, I want to go over there. I want to shake her. I want to tell her to wake up. I said, yeah, that's not going to work. I said, just say, okay, and let's just leave it for now. So luckily, he listened to me. And then a few weeks later, he was actually scheduled to go on a trip to visit family in Eastern Europe, and he did. And a few weeks after that, well, who should come looking for him but the ex? And she found out that he was in Eastern Europe, and she said, I want you back. I'm sorry, because she had been dating some other guy, and things had not gone well. And he said, well, it's too late. We're broken up. So she didn't want to give up. She spent a lot of money that she didn't have to buy a one-way ticket to where he was, because she didn't know how long he was going to be there, so she couldn't buy a two-way ticket, also called a round trip. So she bought a one-way ticket, and she shows up, and she calls him from the airport, actually before she boarded the plane, and said, I'm coming over. So he couldn't stop her. He did not meet with her when he was there, because his family knew that he was weak and he was probably going to give in. So they put her on the next plane back to the U.S. And he ended up marrying someone else that he met there. Then he brought his wife over to the U.S. After a while, things did not work out. He divorced her, and guess who's back together? Yes, the original couple. So they were apart for about 2 years. But there was a lot of compatibility there and a lot of chemistry. But she was just too immature at that time, and she still wanted to explore and talk to other guys, etc., etc. And that's what broke them up. And they both never got over each other. They wanted to be together again, and now they were happily together. So it is very possible to get together years after you've broken up. And in fact, as of this recording, Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth recently got married, and they're celebrities. They could date anyone, they could marry anyone, right? But even though they broke up, they eventually got back together. And again, this was an age thing, because when they first met, Miley was 19 and Liam was 21 at the time. Now they're 26 and 28. And they were apart for 3 years, so they needed time to grow up. So what are the reasons why it's still possible to get back with an ex after many years? Well, as in the first example I gave of the guy who got married and then got divorced, You've dated others or gotten married to others. You saw what's out there. You didn't find someone that you had as strong a connection with. And now you appreciate each other more. After dating and seeing what else is available, it's great that you can come back and say, you know what, we belong together. So now the bond is going to be even stronger. Remember that time heals all wounds, or as I like to joke, time wounds all heals. Haha. So you forget a lot of the bad, and there's actually a psychological phenomenon called FAB, Faded Affect Bias, which helps you to forget the negative events that happened and remember the pleasant events. So that certainly helps in getting back together. And in this case, time helps if the relationship was toxic or it ended really badly. So that's where FAB, the Faded Affect Bias, really helps. So the first step in getting back an ex after many years is obviously you have to reestablish contact. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all advice for how to reestablish contact. So if you're really serious about getting your ex back, then I would suggest that you set up a private coaching session with me so I can review your particular situation and give you the best strategy to get an ex back. And you can do that by contacting me at my website, theartoflove.net. Now, you may think, oh, they're going to think I'm trying to get them back. No, if it's been years or a year, they're not necessarily going to think that you're trying to get them back. And, they can think whatever they want. I mean, there's any number of reasons that you can contact them, and they will probably respond, even if it's just out of curiosity. And a lot of times it's easier to just approach them on social media instead of all of a sudden showing up on their phone as a text or a phone call. But again, if we do a coaching session, we can figure all that stuff out. So once you've reestablished contact and you're talking and you have good memories together, you're getting along, at some point it would be good to meet, right? You want to do that. And I've actually already done a video about that, so I'm not going to go over that here. And the title of that video is How to Behave When Your Ex Asks You Out After the Breakup. And I will also put that link. So remember, there is no expiration date on getting back together. In fact, if you watch Dancing with the Stars, you might know Cheryl Burke is back with a guy that she dated over 10 years ago. 10 years. At that time, they were 24, and his name is Matthew Lawrence, Joey Lawrence's brother, was 28. And now they're 34 and they're 38, and they got back together after 10 years. So don't think, oh, too much time has passed. No, if there was a strong connection and a bond there, it still exists. It's buried somewhat, but you can bring it back to life, just like a phoenix rising up out of the ashes. And the great thing about getting back with an ex after years apart is that now you want them back, not because you're acting needy or out of emotion or because you miss them, you can't live without them, you can't stand the no contact. You've matured, you're a different person, you've grown, you've learned to live without them, and now you both choose to be with each other again. So thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on iTunes, I would appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast. If you are listening on YouTube, thank you for subscribing. As I mentioned, if you'd like private coaching, you can contact me at my website, theartoflove.net. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.